every once in a while a movie comes along that really changes you, either for the good, for the bad. It depends on, if it's trying to educate you, whether it be a documentary, a drama, an action film, whatever. That movies have the ability through storytelling to really make a statement, to remind you maybe of something that you shouldn't forget. I mean, whatever the purpose of film is. And it can't be a better example than Son of Saul. And this is a movie that really, really affected me. And I've heard about this movie for a long time now, and I wish I could go back to my top 10 list of 2015. I would probably put it at number 1. I really would. This movie is so remarkable in so many different ways. And first of all, setting the movie up, you have Saul Auslander. This is a Hungarian film, by the way. It's a foreign film. It's subtitled. And before you get upset, I tell people some of the greatest films ever made are foreign films. And foreign films, well, people go, what's the difference between foreign films and American films? Well, American films are about stories. Usually foreign films are about people. I mean, it's that simple. And when you're reading subtitles, you think after 5 minutes they're speaking English. So don't let that scare you. It opens up a whole world. That's a whole nother probably discussion on foreign film. Anyway, we have Saul Auslander, and he is what they call a Sonderkommando. And a Sonderkommando, this all takes place in Auschwitz during the Holocaust. So you can imagine how intense this movie is. And he's I want to get it right, a Sonderkommando. And these were the Jews that were doing the Nazis' dirty work. So here it is. It's mind-boggling, first of all, that people are being herded off these freight cars right into the ovens. I mean, literally, into the gas chambers, into the ovens, 24 hours a day, thousands, hundreds of thousands of people in this camp. And here are these Jews who want to live, but they have to clean up the gas chambers, because people are vomiting and blood and everything over there. They have to pile the dead bodies. I don't know if I can get through this review. My God. They have to pile the dead bodies. They have to put them in the ovens. They have to take the ashes and dump them in the river next to Auschwitz. And so Saul is one of these Sonderkommandos. Now, they're only used for a certain amount of time, maybe 2 or 3 months, and then they're executed. They're destroyed, and they bring in a whole new batch. And while people are taking off their clothes and while they're all their personal belongings, they're taking all the gold, all the jewelry, everything with value, and they're separating it, taking it to warehouses. This movie's intense, because when you normally hear about a movie about the Holocaust, it's almost kind of, I don't want to say sanitized, but just, this really shows you the day-to-day operations of something that's right in the forefront of why there's a death camp there. Usually if it's a character, living in the barracks or just something, it's always kind of, it's in the background of what's going on. Here you get to see exactly what's going on, the death at every turn, torture. Oh my God. I mean, this movie was intense. It really was. And here's another thing. I wanted to say that the director, László Nemes, this is Nemes. This is his first time directing and his first time screenplay. I'm cheating over here. He had 7 years working on this script about actual accounts of Sonderkommandos, about diaries, and in the movie they have some people like taking pictures and risking their life and keeping diaries and everything of what's going on. They're documenting all the atrocities that are going on in the camp, and so they could be killed any minute. I mean, it's on. But anyway, this first-time director, he also uses 35mm film. So it's not digital, gives it that authentic documentary feel. Also, it was shot in 28 days, and they recreated all of these the ovens and the camps and stuff like that. But here's the wild thing: when you're watching this movie, and especially it's almost all through Saul's perspective, not his point of view, but just the camera is always on Saul moving around, and he uses a 40mm lens. So you see my face, but in the background it's just slightly out of focus, so you can't see what's going on. So you can see people being piled in the ovens. You can see people being driven into the gas chambers. You can see people being piled up, but you can't make it out exactly. Seeing people dragged across the floor and piled like cords of wood in the corner. And it just adds to this evil, this insanity that you can't, if it was just cut it away and you saw things going on, it was just shocking for a minute. But as the movie just keeps going in these long takes, 5, 6, 7 minutes that keep going and going, you see Saul just totally removed. But the point of the whole movie, the plot of the whole movie, is that Saul sees a teenage boy who survived but then was murdered, if that's the right word, by the camp doctor who wanted to experiment on him, find out why did he survive? How can some of these people survive the gas chamber? Let's open him up and do an autopsy. Well, of course, the Jewish faith is he wants to find a rabbi and he wants to bury him in the ground, and he's only got a day to do this. So this whole movie takes place in day and a half. Meanwhile, just utter chaos going on around constantly, because he's not only risking his life, but the rest of all the other Sonderkommandos. Meaning that if he's caught, the Nazis will just execute everybody and get a whole new batch to do their bidding. Yeah, this movie's really intense. It really is intense. Just checking my notes over here. There's a scene also with the fire pits. They have all of these Jews coming in that they're at capacity. There's just no way they can execute 3,000 Jews in one night. So they end up digging these giant pits, executing them one by one, setting them on fire. It's just, again, all you hear screaming, and that's another thing, the sound. I read up on this. It took them, I think, 5 months just to do the sound editing on this, because sound is so important in this movie. You hear the screams, you hear the gunshots, you hear all this stuff. The sound is such an amazing addition to the story that just documents this real horrible tragedy. The other thing I was thinking about is that here throughout this whole film, there's no humanity. I mean, you're watching this, you're thinking, how can people do this to each other? How can the German officers kill with such impunity, with such disregard, with this for human life, being brainwashed? And I just think out of all of this murder and death and chaos and genocide, Saul is the humanity. Saul is the only one who's risking his life to bury a boy he doesn't even know. But he says to everyone, this is my son. And they're saying, you don't have a son, Saul. We know you. He's like, but he's determined to risk his life and everything just to bury this boy, to do the right thing, and to find a rabbi. So here are these Jews getting off the trains, being told, hey, there's fresh soup and there's tea for you waiting. Just everybody get cleaned up in the disinfection chamber. We're going to clean you up. And all. Of course, it's all lies, And Saul sees this going on constantly. So out of all of this horrible scenario going on, the one person who's got the glimmer of humanity in all of it is Saul. Quickly, I wanted to mention the production designer, László Röhrig. He was a production designer, and he also helped design the Auschwitz Holocaust Museum. He was one of the architects. And so he recreated in these warehouses these sets of the ovens and everything else. It's just chilling. And you see these guys throwing coal in. I mean, there must be 70 Sonderkommandos who get this permission to do all these different things. They give it just a little bit above more of the prisoners. And I'm just trying to figure out how the Holocaust camps work, because I thought if everyone's herded off the trains right into the gas chambers, who's left over? It must be all the workers, because there's people, there's lots of people working these camps. And the Germans just don't get dirty at all. I mean, they won't touch anything. They won't do anything. They're beating everybody. They're barking orders constantly. They're living this high life off these incredible dinners. And I mean, it's just disgusting. It really is. I just don't know how the German people ever live this down. I really don't. And don't think this can't happen again. Look at Bosnia. There's all kinds of genocide still going on today, folks. So this movie's more important than ever not to forget. And but also just to find, in the midst of all this chaos, one man trying to make a difference or trying to do the right thing. All right, just to warn you, I mean, the very beginning of this movie, you're sitting there. I was crying. I literally was crying. It affected me that much. The first 10, 15 minutes of this movie, you're just clutching your chest and just seeing this horrible, horrible tragedy going on. And you're thinking, oh my God, it kept going on for years. And the Allies knew it. They knew what was going on, but what to do? I mean, it was so complicated. I just can't imagine living back then. I can't imagine trying to survive, in one of those camps. Let alone, how about the Jews that were doing their bidding? I mean, they did what they had to do to survive, but here they are. I mean, this is a movie you have to experience. You really do. I mean, it will change you. It will make you aware, and it'll open discussion. It really is. I mean, I could sit and talk about this for hours with someone because it affected me that much. One of the greatest films of 2015, one of the greatest films probably in the last 4 or 5 years or a long time, Son of Saul. It's opening here in Las Vegas, so make sure to check it out, opening near you, because you won't forget it. All right, for more reviews and interviews, just surf on over to our website, vegasfilmcritic.com, podcast on iTunes, subscribe, comment below, thumbs up. I'm Jeffrey K. Howard. I'll see you next time.